Good evening and welcome to round 3 of the SSRI GT4 Championship. With only 2 rounds complete in our 7-round championship, things are already hotting up in the standings. We currently have a 3-way tie for the Pro Championship between Aaron Walker, last year's champion Andrew Richardson, and newcomer Leon Hopp. While in the AM class, there are still a number of contenders vying for that top spot, which is currently held by Arwen Nam, with Evan Yetvis and Patrick Tractor in close pursuit. And tonight we head to sunny Barcelona and the Circuit de Catalunya, a relatively young track built in the early 1990s to coincide with the Barcelona 1992 Summer Olympics. The circuit boasts plenty of overtaking opportunities for the brave, especially into Turn 1 and Turn 10 Liquiaxa at the end of the 2 long straights. Now, with tonight's race being 70 minutes long, with a mandatory tyre stop but no requirement for fueling, we could see a couple of different strategies playing out on track in terms of pit stops. So I'm SSRI Ambassador Sam Pierce, and joining me in the commentary booth to keep you apprised of all the action, as always, is Ryan Walker. Ryan, what are you most looking forward to in tonight's race?
Yeah, looking forward to a close one, especially around this fantastic Barcelona track. One of my favourite tracks on ACC, and from the practice laps I've done offline, these GT4 cars around here are pretty good fun, and yeah, But on the other hand, if you get it wrong with these GT4 cars, especially if they taking too much curb in some of these maybe high-speed corners, it could bite you. But overall, looking forward to a close race tonight, and I think looking at the practice times, it looks to be really close, and I'm looking forward to this race. And not many passing opportunities, but I think. You might see some people maybe taking a lunge up the inside into that hairpin, because it seems to be a good passing opportunity. But on the other hand, it can go horribly wrong if you get it wrong, and especially if cars in front of you, if you get it wrong, they could be the innocent victims.
Yeah, I mean, turn 1, turn 10, at the end of the 2 long straights, you've got to be brave. But it is possible to make a dive up there. But yes, as you say, if it goes wrong here, it tends to go wrong in a fairly spectacular fashion. But get it right, and yeah, it feels amazing. This is not a track that I get along with very well. I love Sector 1, Sector 2 I'm okay, Sector 3 with that the final complex just coming on to then the back straight. I absolutely hate that entire section. Never have been able to get that sussed. So this is one of my nemesis tracks. Enjoy driving it, cannot drive it very well.
Yes, I've always enjoyed racing around Barcelona. It's one of those tracks I enjoy, but I've never really been quick around here. It seems to be, from my experience, Barcelona seems to be a very technical track. It's one of those tracks that if you make even the slightest mistake around here, it can cost you a few tenths. But if you nail a lap around here, it feels very rewarding. And at the moment, that Andrew Richardson leading the session, and just some news as well in qualifying. Some of the main contenders may have to miss tonight, especially Leon Hopp, who done really well at the previous round at Oulton Park. Unfortunately, it looks like, according to him, he may have to miss tonight because he's on his way back from work, but his train's been delayed.
Yeah. So there's been some unpleasant weather about in various parts of the UK today. It's definitely causing some travel issues here and there and roundabout. But interestingly to see Richard Pixley not had a very good season out so far, but topped our timing tables in practice during over the past fortnight, and sitting quite pretty currently in P3 just as we're just coming up to about the halfway mark of qualifying. Got about just over 8.5 minutes left. And yeah, Richard Pixley doing very, very well. And his lap time during the practice and over the past 2 weeks, absolutely annihilating the real life lap record for GT4s around here. Real life record was a 155.4. Richard Pixley did a 153.7. So, you know, really, really good lap times from him during the practice. And he seems to be carrying that through into qualifying.
Absolutely, and someone that's caught my eye in qualifying at the moment is a certain Chris Hill, currently leading in the AM class. Currently pole position in the AM class and 6th overall. So good to see him doing well at the moment. And you never know, if he has a good run tonight, he could be one of the main contenders for that class win.
Yeah, so Chris going very, very well around this Barcelona circuit. We were keeping an eye on him during the free practice, and you know, even in there, doing, you know, quite good lap times and mixing it up with the pro guys. So fingers crossed that Chris has a great round out today with us at Barcelona. Just coming into 7 minutes to go in qualifying, and Chris sitting quite comfortably in P6.
Indeed, doing a good job as we ride on board with Chris at the moment, heading up to the Caxus, the hairpin I should say, heading into that hairpin, and probably one of the trickiest corners on the track, because it's one of those corners that invites you to brake later than you want to, but if you brake too late, you end up just overrunning the entry to that corner. But as Chris comes up to one of the most annoying parts of the track, I find anyway, it's a bit of a Mickey Mouse section, or as I like to call it, the Tesco car park section.
Yeah, I've read that they've actually taken that left-right complex out for this season of Formula One, so that's kind of interesting that I read that today. They've rounded off that entire section. So then that'll be interesting to see how that works out. But probably we probably won't get to see that in GT4s. I think GT4s are still running the original 2022 circuit, which does include that left-right complex before coming on to the main straight, which a lot of people get wrong. It is very, very difficult to actually get right.
Just watching Tim Nagbayer coming across the line as well, and it's not a big turnout tonight like it has been in the previous couple of rounds, but still 20 cars is a good turnout as we look back at Richard Pixley, currently third coming around the final corner. And I don't know about you, Sam, but that Wildfins Racing livery on the McLaren just looks superb.
Yeah, it's always been one of my favourite liveries across this season by Wild Things Racing. I know you've always had quite a fan of Bas van Mellis's
oh yes,
what I call the zebra livery.
Yeah.
That Andrew Richardson is also sporting this season as well. They definitely can't miss those boys.
Speaking of Mellis and the zebra liveries, it looks like they're in the double formation at the moment, as it looks like Andrew Richardson's maybe trying to help Baz, give him a bit of a slipstream and try and jump him up further up the grid as Baz comes across the line, and it looks like he stays fifth. Yeah,
I don't know if slipstreaming is all that effective around here. Might be a little bit more effective down than the back straight heading into turn 10, just because that's a little bit longer of a straight, but I don't think the slipstream is overly powerful here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think with these GT4 cars, the slipstreams is not as effective. I think it's more obviously the cars don't have as much the aerodynamic downforce like you would get on a GT3 car. It's more down to the driver than anything. But is what's looking back at Richard Pixley as well, coming through that annoying chicane. I keep saying about it, it's just so difficult to get right. But if you do get it right, you can gain heaps of time on the exit. And Pixley coming around the final corner runs a little bit wide and comes across the line, and looks like Pixley will stay in third place.
Yeah, just looking down my timing board to see who's en route to gain, and Frank Hopp currently 0.6 up on his lap time. So if he manages to keep that time, that should jump him possibly in certainly in a couple of places. And as he's just coming round the final corner now. Yeah, that jumps him up to P7, so a really great lap there from Frank Hopp. As we jump on board with Evan Yepes. Who it looks like doesn't quite improve, though. We still have 2 minutes left in qualifying, so people could still jump into the pits, possibly have enough time to put on a new set of tires, but they would have to be out on track now. So I think those that are in the pits now, likes of Richard Pixley, Nick Vargas, Wouter Vrints, and Daniel Barnes, they are probably finished qualifying for this evening.
Yeah, just thought so. Now it's about 1:35 left on the clock, and I think if you're in the pits, you won't have enough time to get round and the start of the lap. But yeah, the ones that are still on track, they should have enough time to. If they come across the line now with about 1:20 left, I think they should have enough time to complete whatever lap they're on. But as Dan Lenson goes across the line, he stays in P6. But
he actually jumped up to
jumped
P6.
up. Sorry, my apologies.
He was in P10 heading towards the end of that lap, but managed to improve by about 0.6. So with that midfield being as tightly bunched as they are in terms of lap times, even just little improvements are probably going to have quite an impact on that midfield. I mean, just looking down the timing screen, everywhere from about P5 down to P11 is only separated by just under a second. So, and any improvements are going to be worthwhile in that midfield.
Indeed, as Evan Netfers comes across the line and stays in 13th place, but Evan, teammate to Richard Pixley, racing in different classes, but still pretty much still racing for the same team as Regan Mitchell comes into the pits, and it looks like his qualifying session has done. So as it stands, he will probably start on the front row alongside Andrew Richardson.
Yeah, and then looking down my time screens, it looks like those that are still out on track are currently not showing as anyone improving. We've got Dan Lenson and Chris Hill still out on track, as well as Evan Yepes. So as we follow Dan Lenson over the line, doesn't improve, nor does Tim Nybor. He's already finished. So I believe that is our starting grid for the race.
Yeah, indeed, and some standout performances in qualifying, and you've got the usual protagonists up at the front, and then further back you've got some surprise, well, not surprise, drivers right up there. you've got good results in the top 10, especially Chris Hull, and taking the arm pole position.
Yeah, and as we were saying in the build up to the show, with Aaron Walker and Leon Hopp not being in the server this evening, Andrew Richardson has got free rein to gain some very, very valuable points. But what it also means is that some of the drivers outside of that P1 stalemate at the top of the pro class, they can get a chance to start gaining backs and some starting to gain back some points. I mean, at the minute there's a big gap between the joint P1 and Sander Vale in P2. There's already 40 points difference in there, so that's quite a gap. But with Aaron and Leon not being in the server tonight, the likes of Sander Vale, Regan Mitchell, they can start closing that gap in a little bit, and widening the fight just a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, you've got a couple of the really quick drivers not being able to make it tonight. Aaron Walker not being around tonight. Same with Leon Hopp, and yeah, it could give an opportunity for possibly a new winner, a first-time winner this season to happen. But especially, but also with Andrew Richardson up at the front, I think it'll be a very tough task.
Yeah, with Regan Mitchell currently sitting in P2 after qualifying, with Richard Pixley taking P3. Really, really good opportunity for them to gain some very, very valuable points for the rest of this season. So as we wait for the formation of the grid, let's just take a quick rundown of how the qualifying ended up. So in P1, we had Andrew Richardson followed by Regan Mitchell in the first of the Maseratis. On row 2, we've got Richard Pixley followed by Nikolai Schroeder. And then in P5, we've got Bas Van Millis followed by Dan Lenson, then Sander Vale and Frank Hopp. Chris Hill taking that AM class pole position, which is a really, really great showing for him, with Patrick Tractor alongside. Then we've got Dennis Verkman and Nick Vargas, followed by Evan Netvis and Tim Nybor, Mark Sanyol and Arwin Baum, followed by Router Vince, Jan-Paul Eichenboom, Dylan Barnes, and bringing up the back will be Nicholas Merlot. So as we just wait for the formation grid, I think we've got a little bit of technical difficulties happening in the background. There we go. So grid is now up. So Ryan, predictions. What are you expecting for the race?
Predictions is it's going to be a hard race. Going to be a hard race to predict. I think obviously straight away you would probably think about putting your money on Andrew Richardson, but also when you've got Regan Mitchell alongside him, I think two of them could put on a fantastic race. And I think in the AM class, it's really hard to predict because there's always so much close racing in that class. But I don't know. I think. Like we were talking about at the start of the broadcast, I think Chris Hill, if he keeps out of trouble and he might get away and just have a clean run in the early stages, he could be the underdog to watch.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be interesting. The fact that we have a mandatory tire change, but no requirement for refueling. I think a lot of people are going to take advantage of coming in and doing that tire change, probably right bang in the halfway point of the race. It makes sense to do that, but with Barcelona being then the way it is, overtaking being a little bit challenging, we may see some pit stops a little bit earlier, a little bit later, a bit out of sequence, just to try and potentially get out of traffic. So it'd be interesting to see how it all pans out.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about the pit stops as well, obviously pretty much a 70-minute or basically 1 hour and 10-minute race. I should say. I think a strategy could be interesting. It'll be interesting to see if any drivers they decide to take fuel only and they not take tires. Oh, sorry, I just double checked. They do have to take tires, so it'll be interesting to see if some drivers maybe decide to go with not taking a full tank for the start of the race, and then maybe gain track position and not having to run as much fuel, or maybe some drivers might try and take a close to a full tank and try and go as long as possible. We do know that Andrew Richardson's been has been famous for going as long as possible and making his pit stop towards the end.
Yeah, I think if it were me out on track, I would probably look at doing that. The pit stop kind of halfway through, so that you've got optimum tire life for majority of the race. But we never know how races are going to pan out. Not too sure where incidents are going to happen, if they're going to happen. So yeah, it's anyone's guess at the minute. And well, one thing I know for sure is that these guys are definitely going to make it interesting for us, as they always do.
Yep, absolutely. And I think obviously we know that Regan Mitchell in that fantastic saw the head top livery, I have to say. I was just looking at the livery and I was kind of wondering what livery he was running, and I saw it at the head talk. So yeah, thumbs up from me for running that. So hopefully that might bring Regan some luck. But yeah, using that, I can't remember if it's the Maserati that's not got any traction control. So yeah, I think Regan Mitchell might have to take care of his tyres in the early stage of the race, especially not around that long right-hander after turn 1, turn 2, and turn 3, because that long right-hander after turn 1 and 2 can be a tyre killer.
Yeah, another thing that people are going to have to be careful of is obviously minding the curbs. Certainly on the first couple of laps, there are some nasty ones around here. So just something else for the drivers to look out for, along with everything else. So as we come down the main straight, getting ready to take the checkered flag, green flag, sorry. And we are racing, and it looks like Regan Mitchell has gotten a great run as we go nearly 3 wide into the first corner. Somebody is going to have to back out of this, but amazingly they all make it through nice and cleanly. So absolute well done for all involved in that. And the big winner looks to be Richard Pixley in the Wild Things Racing. Seems to have been the big winner of that. A little bit of a power slide from Regan Mitchell behind. So yeah, really close fighting as we go through the initial stages of this first lap.
Yeah, it looked like I was looking further back through the field. It looks like someone got tagged into a spin, but I'm not sure who that was. But yeah, Richard Pixley got a great jump off the line and managed to take the lead. So a good start from him. But yeah, a little bit of mayhem going on further back in the field. But apart from that, it's been relatively clean.
Yeah. So, and I think Not too sure. I think that might have been Dennis Workman that got spun round. We'll have to keep an eye on where he comes out. And yeah, I'm showing him down in P19. So unfortunately, quite a disastrous start for Dennis Workman. He's going to have quite a lot of work to do for himself from back there.
Yeah, absolutely. And as the cars coming across the line to complete the end of the first lap, and it looks like someone's dived into the pits already. Is that I think that's Dan Lenson and also one of the other GT4 cars as well. So several cars having issues on lap 1. Maybe just a case of being caught out in cold tyres, but still, Rich Pixley leading the race from Andrew Richardson, and it looks like these two are starting to slowly pull away from Regan Mitchell in third place.
When we're just replaying the incident with Frank Hop.
So it looks like both. Looks like both. Yeah, just a bit of a contact happened, and from then on, it was a bit of a pinball match going on pretty much.
I apologise for that, and everyone's slight little technical hiccup. But when we're back now, and Dennis Workman, I just see that he's to add insult to injury, has also now gotten in a drive-through penalty as well. So very, very unfortunate for him, and especially as it looks like he's also served in his pit stop potentially to repair damage from that lap 1 incident, and has gotten a drive-through, and I would think possibly for some kind of pit lane infringement. But yeah, Dennis Workman's race unfortunately going from bad to worse.
Yeah, it's not the start that he wanted, but yeah, I think it's just going to be a case of him trying to get to the finish now and trying to salvage any result that he can. But as we look at Dennis now, and yeah, he's probably feeling a little bit frustrated now. But yeah, it's just not something that you want around a track such as Barcelona, because it doesn't look like it, but around these GT4 cars, a lap around here does feel like an eternity.
It does, but you know, as long as he can, can keep his head, keep his cool, not let the red mist, take over. He could potentially, just gain some good points back from this. He's already served his pit stop. He will need to jump back into the pits within the next lap or two, as he does right now, to serve that drive-through. But everyone in front of him will also have to pit as well. So it's unfortunate. It's really, really frustrating when you're behind the wheel thinking, oh, what else can go wrong? But he's doing the right thing, staying out on track, and just seeing what points he can pick up. You never know what happens in a race. There could be all manner of things to happen that would help him gain some valuable points. So something that I've learned is no matter how much of a crap race you're having, it's worthwhile staying out.
Yeah, absolutely. As looking back at the top three up at the front, it's Pixley, Richardson, and Regan. I thought they were pulling away from Regan Mitchell, but Regan Mitchell's managed to drag himself back in, and I'm wondering if Pixley is maybe just not he's not really pushing at the moment. Maybe just trying to control the pace up at the front, and just maybe trying to look after his tyres as much as he can. But look right there on board with Regan Mitchell. I thought Regan would have ended up falling back because like we say, that this car here, it's not got a traction control, so I thought around this track it would have been a bit of a disadvantage. As I say that, it looks like Andrew Richardson's trying to make a bit of a sneaky move up the inside, and contact between the top three, and how on earth that never ended up in an even bigger incident between the top three, I'll never know. But it looked like Andrew Richardson was trying to send up the inside there and trying to send it first class, but trying to do a better job in the Royal Mail.
Yeah, so bit of trading paint, bit of argy-bargy, but everyone managing to stay facing in the right direction. And yeah, it just goes to show why these guys are top of the timing charts, and we're in the commentary booth. That they are able to keep it all facing the right way. And live to fight another day. But in terms of where Richard Pixley, controlling the race, potentially saving on tires, he may be doing a bit of fuel saving potentially. Might be thinking of not refueling, although knowing that if you have to take tires, it doesn't cost you any time to take fuel as well. Not too sure if that's then the likely scenario. So I think Richard is just trying to manage his own race at the minute, and not getting too bogged down and overwhelmed by the likes of Andrew Richardson and Regan Mitchell bearing down on the back of him, as Regan Mitchell gets the fastest lap purple tag for the race, with putting in a 1:53.6. So at the minute, about a 10th quicker than our current leader.
Regan Mitchell doing a good job keeping up with these two, and yeah, it's a good point you brought up about fuel saving. I wonder if Richard's maybe doing that at the moment, and basically not trying to. He's not going as quick as he can go. Maybe just doing his own thing. And but it looks like Andrew Richardson, he just watching the body language, it looks like he's in a bit of a hurry to try and get by, because obviously Regan Mitchell's just right behind these two at the moment, and not too far behind the top three as well. In the background there, you see as we go to him now is Nikolai Schroeder, so in the Alpine as well. So Nikolai's probably thinking, just watching right now, just hoping that either the top three in front of him have any issues, and if they do, he could be there to pick up some freebies.
Yeah, and obviously then the more than these three at the front fight, the lower their lap times are going to be. It's going to give Nikolai then the chance to pull up onto the back of this pack, and potentially make it a four-way battle, as Regan takes a little bit of a look up the inside. But let's not forget that we've got 18 other cars out on tracks. We go and jump on board with Frank Hopp, who is chasing down Yangpang Eichenboom at the minute in I believe our stall Mercedes, and out on track tonight. So Franklin, a little bit out of position, didn't have a great qualifying. So as you can see from the timing board, he is one of the pro class drivers that's mixed in amongst the AM drivers tonight. So he's going to have a bit of a challenging race to try and make his way through that pack of drivers to get back up to the rest of the pro guys.
Indeed, there's looking back up at the front of the top three, still close together, and Pixel misses the first part of the chicane there. That might compromise his exit, and Andrew Richardson gets a great exit as well. Great momentum heading onto the home straight. This might give him an opportunity to try and make a move down the home straight. But the Porsche Cayman has never been known for being a quick car in a straight line, or Porsches in general. So, but as I say that, Andrew Richardson's not losing too much touch, and that McLaren as well. It's got some a bit of a punch in a straight line. So Richard Pixley doing a good job with this McLaren as well, and the team boss as well. As I say that, looks like Richardson's got a great run as well. But I was about to say, Denice Pope might be smiling at the moment, because Pixley's doing a good job at holding on to the lead.
Yeah, but it's been really great opening few laps for Richard, keeping it nice and clean, managing to take that P1 position and away from Richardson, right from the green flag, kind of caught Richardson napping a little bit, and managed to get out in front just before that turn one. And is doing a really good job of holding onto that place, not getting too flustered from any of the cars behind, and defending well. So doing a really great job.
Indeed, as they come into the hairpin now, and Pixel runs wide a little bit on the exit, but doesn't seem to lose too much momentum, and it just looks like Ray Richardson's probably the quicker driver out of these two, but it's just that same old thing. It's just trying to make a move and trying to get it done. But still, it's been fantastic racing between the top three at the moment. As you see Regan Mitchell in the middle there, as I say that, Richard Pixley gets a bit of a wobble on the exit there.
Yeah, gets a little bit of a tank slapper. Might have touched just a little bit too much curb coming out of that left-right complex. Very difficult complex to get right, and he's potentially just gotten a little bit too much of the curb, but he's managed to keep it out in front and keep Richardson behind us. We're just on board with Richardson at the minute. You can see just how close he is, and where Richardson's positioning his car is intentionally trying to get into Pixley's mirrors, try and throw him off, and just unnerve him a little bit as he goes for a late dive up the inside, has a little bit of a rub on the way by, and manages to retake that P1 position. Don't think Richard's going to be overly happy with that move. Possibly a little bit of a push to pass, but everyone is still facing the right direction, so possibly one for the stewards to look at after the race.
It was a bit of a forceful move, but just watching from above, it looks like I'll hold off on that for a minute. It looks like Richardson and Pixel have again had issues, so I don't know what it is, but it's, these two seem to have a love of bumping into each other. Yeah,
and then I wait for the timing boards to update, but I think that has put Regan Mitchell up into P1. So just wait for everybody to cross the next sector line. So yeah, Regan Mitchell up into P1, and Nikolai Schroeder, as we were saying, he was waiting in the wings, waiting for somebody to make a mistake. That's now brought him up into P3, and Richard Pixley, within the span of less than a lap, has lost 4 places and has tumbled down the grid to P4. So as when we see what transpires, Richard Pixley possibly missing his braking point, or not taking into account Richardson braking potentially a little bit earlier, and just runs into the back of him. So quite an unusual mistake there from Richard Pixley. But unfortunately, he's paid the price for it and has ended up in MP4. as we just take a look at some of the other action further down the track. We're currently watching Nicholas Malott trying to get past Jan Paul Eichenboom in that Mercedes.
The Mallet at the moment, and yeah, I just noticed as well when he went by Eichenboom as well, is he gave him a bit of a, I don't know if that was a hip check or a bit of a message to say you're not coming through.
Yeah, as we had look up then the grid a little bit to the other Wild Things Racing car in the hands of Evan Yetvis, just having a bit of a fight with Router Vince, and it looks like he's managed to get the move done. So that is Evan Yetvis, I believe, up into P11. So we head back up to the top of the grid, where Richard Pixley taking the P3 position back from Nikolai Schroeder on the main straight, heading down into turn 1, which I believe is nicknamed Elf, if I remember correctly from my reading earlier this afternoon.
Rider on board with Pixley coming round turn 3 now, and yeah, it looks like just looking in the mirror there, it looks like Bas van Melis is that Bas? No, it's Nikolai Schroeder. So
That's...
yeah, I was getting mixed up there. Nikolai Schroeder right behind Pixley. So yeah, I thought Schroeder went by Pixley.
He did. Pixley reclaimed the position coming down the main straight, heading into turn 1. We came on board just as he was getting that move done. So yeah, but Nikolai Schroeder in the Alpine, going to be trying to not let Richard Pixley pull too much of a gap from him. Currently that gap up to 7/10, so he's going to want to try and stay on the back of Richard Pixley as much as possible, and potentially have the two of them work together to catch back up to Regan Mitchell and Andrew Richardson. So we head on board with Chris Hill still leading our AM class and doing a great job, but he does have Aaron Nam, our current AM class leader who won the last round out at Oulton Park, breathing down his neck. Although, and as I've just seen in the background, Aaron Nam has just gone a little bit wide, and it's just given him a little bit more breathing space. That gap now 1.3 seconds, so it gives Chris a little bit of breathing room heading down the main straight into turn 1.
Indeed, and good to see some other makes of cars on tracks as well, especially with looking at Nam at the moment, running that Chevy Camaro as well, and one of those cars that doesn't really get used on ACC anymore, but it's good to see a bit of variety on track, and with a Camaro and an Alpine, and also Maserati as well. So it's good to see a bit of a mix-up as well, and as Nam runs a little bit wide there and manages to get it turned in there. But yeah, that mistake just gave Chris Hill a bit of breathing space, and Chris Hill trying to get by Vaggers as well. So Chris did a good job inside the top 10 overall, and I think he's just more than happy to sit behind, realising that he's not in the same class, and then say sometimes it's always best to just sit behind and just do your own thing.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, it's really, really great to see Chris back on track, and it's even better to see him being competitive. I know he had kind of fell out of love with racing a little bit over the winter, but it's great to see him back on form, back in enjoying his racing again, and doing really well. So leading the AM class out in our race tonight, as we head on board with Router Vince, who's kind of the sandwich in a bit of a four-way battle behind Evan Netvis. This is for this four-way battle is eventually for P11 with Evan Netvis rather Vince, and then it's Nicholas Malott and Frank Hopp just starting to catch on to the back of this pack as well. So Vince under quite a lot of pressure here from Malott coming up then the main straight. Looks like Malott is going to attempt to try and be a bit brave on the brakes, and as Frank Hopp, and I think potentially by watching what was going on in front a little bit more than his braking point, and almost collided into the back of Wouter Rints there, but Malott making a fantastic move under braking into turn 1 to get himself up to P12, so very well done.
Yeah, managed to get the move done into into turn 1, and I thought someone was going off there, but I was watching the stream on my main monitor, so yeah, I was getting in a bit of a fright there over nothing. But yeah, there's been, apart from the accident up at the front, it's been relatively clear, and it seems to have quietened down ever so slightly as we've got about 47 minutes left in the race. That's absolutely just flew by so far.
Yeah, and when we head back to this fight with Nicholas Malott, who's now hunting down Evan Yetvis. Malott didn't have the greatest of qualifying, so he is a bit out of position from where he normally would be. So he's got quite a number of drivers that he needs to make his way by. Evan Yetvis, even though he's an AM class driver, still very, very experienced, very, very good defending. So it's definitely not going to make it easy for Nicholas to get by.
Yeah, I was like, Nicholas has got a great run across the line, and it looks like he just not close enough. It looks like Evan's going to go slightly defensive. I'm quite surprised that Evan didn't go fully defensive early. So it looks like Nicholas is about to make a move into turn 1. Was a bit of door bashing there, but it looks like yes, Evan leaves just enough room for the long right-hander, and it looks like Nicholas is about to take that position.
So yeah, little bit of a send and hope from Nicholas Malott. Bit far back, and I think if it were me, but he's managed to get the job done. Evan Yetvis, did a good job there to prevent that contact from getting too far and out of hand, and everyone's still pointing in the same direction. So yeah, Nicholas now has a bit of a gap to now catch up with Armin Nam, as we just come on board with Regan Mitchell just to see how he's getting on and up in the front in that challenging Maserati. It has pulled a little bit of a gap to Andrew Richardson, but not enough that he can kind of sit back and relax. That gap currently 1.3. So certainly enough to keep Regan and aware that Richardson is there, but not under enough pressure that he needs to be overly concerned. So I think he can just kind of settle down and just drive his own race for the time being. And we'll just wait and see when he pulls in for his pit stop. Chris Hill, not content to just sit in his AM leading the AM. Is having a go on trying to pass Nick Vargas.
Yeah, I thought he was going to pull that move off the outside. That would have been brave if he did, but it looks like Chris Hill's got that basically managed to undercut. I thought he was going to undercut Vargas there, but it looks like Vargas runs wide, and this might give Chris the opportunity. But if Vargas can hold on to the inside, he'll have the inside line, and still Chris is not giving up. This is fantastic stuff.
Yeah, this is really, really great to see that Chris has gotten his fight back and doing really, really well and out on track. Love to see it, and he's definitely not going to let Nick just hadn't have the position. He's going to keep fighting, and he's pretty close to coming down the main straight. So Nick is going to have to defend as he goes to the inside, forcing Chris to the outside, and he's just not going to be close enough. But he has managed to be a little bit better on the brakes. But Nick just manages to keep that position. All the while, we've got Arwen Nam in this battle as well, and I think with that that little incident coming down the back straight, I think that's given Arwen Nam then the position, as I think Nick Vargas now just jumps into the pits. So thinks better of staying out, as he decided to get himself out of traffic and potentially maybe trying then the undercut just to try and get a bit of a gap. But yeah, by both as we see on the replay, by both Chris and Nick going a little bit wide, and Arwen Nam saying thank you very much, absolutely nails his braking point and breezes past the two of them on the inside. So fantastic move there from Arwen Nam up into P1 in that AM class.
Yeah, that was a very, very opportunistic but brilliant move from him, and yeah, but took the opportunity and they took the position. But further back in this AM class, they've still got this battle between Evan Netvis and also Walter Vrins as well going on, and yeah, this battle's been going on for quite some time as well, and it looks like Evans managed to keep their position. It wasn't too long ago, I believe, that both these cars were pretty much banging door handles into turn 1 and turn 2, but luckily both of them managed to survive and make it through in one piece. But it looks like Walter wants to try and get by. It's just a case of trying to get by, and also both these cars are the same manufacturers, and it looks like both these drivers look like they're evenly matched on pace.
Yeah, just looking up at then the time, just coming up to 41 minutes left in this race. Going to be coming up to the halfway mark in a few minutes' time. So it'd be interesting to keep an eye on who starts to pit in sort of the next 5-10 minutes. Those who are deciding to pit on the halfway mark, just to try and make sure that they're optimizing tire life for then the rest of the race, and to see who decides to stick it out longer and keep then the fresher tires right to the very end, with the potential of doing then the business on track. So be interesting to keep an eye on who pits and who stays out over the next 5 to 10 minutes.
Indeed, is this battle starting to, just looking behind now, this looks like a straight starting to slowly grow as well. So it looks like Netfis runs slightly wide there, and this might give Reince a chance to try and make a move, but Evan manages to hold the position, and it looks like starting to cause a bit of a bottleneck now. They holding these cars up behind, and not too far behind you've got a couple other cars starting to close down. And if I was Walter, it might be worth diving into the pits and trying to do an undercut.
Yeah, I mean, we've got Mark Saniel, who's already joined the back of this pack in the other McLaren. But yeah, Jan Paul Eichenboom, not that far back. He's still battling with Frank Hopp. But Jan Paul is only 1.5 back from this 3-car pack. So then this fight could very well end up being a 4 or 5-way fight. So yeah, it might very well be worth Vrins, possibly even Saniel, jumping into the pits to see if they can get make up some time in pit lane, but just riding on board with him. Vrins stays out, so does Mark Saniel, so they're content to continue battling on track. to see how things go. And Mark Saniel taking a really great move up the inside, managed to get a really good run out of the final corner, although getting a little bit of a push from behind from Router, but I believe that position has stayed, as we just jump on board with Chris Hill, who is battling with Arwen Nam to try and get that lead of the AM class back. These two have been fighting quite close. The gap now only 0.3 as they come just through the twisty section before they come onto the back straight. As long as Chris gets in a really good run out onto the back straight, this could be a good opportunity for him, but I think he's a little bit too far back to make any move stick. As I've just seen in the bottom corner, Mark Saniel appeared to have wandered off track slightly. We might be able to see a replay as to what happened, whether he just missed a breaking point. But Chris just keeping the pressure on Arwen Nam as they come into that complex. So it'll be interesting to see if how good of a drive he gets, although he has now just jumped into the pits to do his pit stop, making sure to get well within that 50-mile limit before the pit lane line. Definitely don't want to see any pit lane infringements from our top drivers, as I'm also noticing Regan Mitchell has jumped into the pits from the lead as well, as we just head on board just to see a replay of what happened with Mark Saniel. Looks like he got a little bit of a tire on the grass previously, but then manages to get up the inside on, I believe that this is Router Ritz, and then just goes into that final corner just a little bit too hot, doesn't get the car slowed down enough, and just drifts wide out into the gravel. So yeah, we are on board with Andrew Richardson, who is now sitting comfortably in P1 now that Regan Mitchell has pitted. Regan has come out currently in P11, but will be interesting to keep an eye on how much time he gains or loses to Andrew Richardson, who is now also coming into the pits as well. So be good to keep an eye out on where Regan is on track. So Regan is just coming onto the back straight at the minute. Andrew Richardson still showing as being stationary in pit lane. So this could be very close.
It could, absolutely, it could be close, and I think it'll be close. I think it'll come down to if Richardson has a good pit entry and a good pit exit. I think because sometimes if you get the pit entry right and the pit exit right, you can probably gain a second or two. As Mitchell runs wide into the chicane there, and that'll compromise his exit. That might lose him a bit of time, and I think Andrew Richardson's got this.
I think he has, and he's already moving. He's passed the pit limiter line, so he is now full throttle. And yeah, he is nicely clear of Regan Mitchell. So either Regan didn't have a very good an outlap, or Andrew Richardson just had a phenomenal in-lap, nailed his pit stop, and yeah, they've come out comfortably in the lead, and the gap between them about 4 seconds. So a very good pit strategy there from Andrew Richardson, who has been able to take the lead of this race in pit lane.
Indeed, and yeah, that's something I was thinking about. I wonder if Richardson's basically went with a kind of a full tank for the race and only having to take maybe a litre of fuel at the pit stop, and along with when he's took tyres as well. And I wonder if Regan Mitchell's maybe took not putting as much fuel for the race and maybe had to put in more fuel at the pit stop, which might explain his a slight time loss there.
Well, and I think because they are taking tyres, I believe, and anyone in YouTube chat, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe if you're taking tyres, the amount of fuel you take doesn't have any impact on your stationary times. So I think that 4 seconds, I think that is just down to having a really, really good in-lap and out-lap, and hitting his marks on pit lane. I don't think I think fueling time only affects pit stops if you are not taking tires, but I may be wrong on that. Anyone in YouTube, if I'm wrong, do please correct me. So, and as I kind of predicted, we're pretty much bang on halfway point of the race, and pretty much everyone has now pitted. Armin Num, Evan Yetvis, and Frank Hopp, only drivers out on track yet to pit, and I would fully expect them to come in this lap or then the lap after, as we're just on board with Armin Num coming through the Sector 3 into that left-right complex just before pit entry.
Yep. So as Nam runs his entry into the chicane slightly. As I was about to say, Nam will probably be into the pits his lap, and indeed he jumps in.
Yep, and manages to get the car slowed down in time. Then this pit lane entry is very, very awkward, having that left-right chicane just before then the pit entry, and especially with the pit lane entry being on the opposite side of the track to where your car is naturally positioned coming through that complex. It is just such an awkward pit entry. It's very, very easy to get the chicane wrong simply because you're thinking, oh, I've got to get over to get into pit lane. But Arwen Nam managing to get it all straightened out and slowed down in time. As we're on board with Sandervale, currently sitting in P10 and having a bit of a battle with I believe that's Tim Nybor out in front, and he's got Nick Vargas directly behind him as well. As we come back on board with Chris, who is now managed to find himself some clear air after the pit stops, and is able to just concentrate on his own race.
Indeed, Chris Hill currently in 11th place at the moment, and it's been a good race for Chris so far, and good to see him he was up leading the ARC class for a certain amount of time, but still been a great run by him so far, and he's just sitting outside the top 10 overall, and I think even if he finishes in the top 3 in class tonight, I think he'll be very happy with that result.
And he will be, yes, but just looking at the timing screens, just waiting for them to catch up a little bit as everyone goes over the next sector time. But Arwen Nam looks like he has pulled a blinder of a pit stop, and has managed to increase the gap to Chris Hill considerably, to the point that they now have another car between them. So looking at then the the gaps on track, Arvin Nam has managed to gain himself about 3 seconds in that pit stop. So has done quite a very, very good in lap, and by pitting a lap or two later than Chris, has managed to increase in his gap and therefore his control over that lead in the AM class. So yeah, good pit strategy there from Arvin.
Yeah, so looking at Regan Mitchell in second place as well, and I think Regan might be kicking himself slightly, because I think I don't know if Regan was maybe a slightly too cautious on the pit entry there, maybe just slowed down maybe a way too early for the pit speed limit line there, but still be second place, doing well. But I think he won't be very happy with it, I would imagine. But as you look at Andrew Ritz in the zebra livery heading into the chicane, and considering he was involved in that mayhem with Richard Pixley earlier on, he's done a good job to keep his composure and pull away and build a bit of a gap.
Yeah, I mean, then this is something that we see from Richardson quite often, not only in this season but last season and as well. He's able to just can keep his cool and react to the race as it unfolds and around him, and keeps a level head, and is therefore able to capitalize on situations that unfold around him. Is in lap for the pit, where it was really, really good, quite exactly what he needed to do to pull that nearly 4 seconds gap on Regan Mitchell, as when we head down then the order to see the fight with Nicholas Malott, who is just coming up onto the back of Arvin Nam. Quite a speed difference coming down the straight, but I don't think he's close enough to go for a move just yet. But I have no doubt that he's going to be hustling Arvin Nam around for the rest of the lap, and just keeping then the pressure on so that he can get up back with the rest of the pro drivers out in front.
Yeah, indeed, as we look at this battle with Nam and Mallet at the moment, and considering just looking at the rear of Nam's the Camaro at the moment, it looks like I don't know if he might have got maybe nudged from the rear at the start of the race, but it's not major damage, but it's just probably just affecting the handling ever so slightly, but I don't think it'll be affecting anything like straight line speed. I would imagine, but is right on board with the Ballet heading through this fast right-hander, and just can't get close enough to make a move, and that way the Camaro just seems to just pull away ever so slightly.
Yeah, I've not driven the Camaro at all, but knowing what I know of American cars, it probably does have a decent amount of straight line speed, but more than likely Nicholas Malott's going to be a lot more nimble in the corners with that Porsche. Porsche's the cornering speeds and handling when you get the car set up right is definitely then the strong suit of the Porsche, which kind of makes up for its little bit of lackluster straight line speed. But it looks like on that lap, Arvin Nam's managed to pull out a little bit more of a comfortable gap coming back into that turn one. As we just come back to this battle with Router Vince, and he now finds himself hunting down Patrick Tractor and Mark Saniel keeping him company behind, as Mark Saniel just kind of dives out and a little bit just to try and put Router off. Excuse me, and he does manage to put Router Vince off a little bit, misses his braking point, and I believe that is Mark Saniel up into P16, just hunting down Patrick Tractor in front in that sky blue Alpine.
Yep, and yeah, it was like he might be under attack. I thought he was going to lose a position there. As I say that, it looks like he is going to lose a position because Patrick Tractor goes for a bit of a rallycross in the gravel there, and maybe just got intimidated slightly by that bit of a move up, that sneaky move up the inside there.
Yeah, but with Patrick Tractor going off, might have disturbed Mark Saniel a little bit, and has brought Router Vince back into the fight. And yeah, this is going to be quite close going into that left-right chicane. So as long as Router Vince can stay nice and close and gets a good exit out of this complex onto the main straight, he may be able to line up a move going into turn 1, but it looks like Saniel has gotten a great exit out of that complex, and has got more than enough buffer coming into turn 1. But just goes to show how quickly things can change in the span of just a single corner.
Yep, indeed, and yes, yeah, Vince still going around at the moment, and there's not really, apart from this battle, there's not really many other battles going on at the moment. It all seems to have settled down now. It looks like most of these drivers are just deciding to maybe just try and bring it home, but as I look at Nam at the moment, currently leading the AM class, and I think Chris Hill maybe might be feeling slightly frustrated with maybe losing a little bit of time and losing that class lead. But yeah, I think being involved in a battle earlier on might have just cost him a little bit of time. But sometimes that's the way it goes in these races when you're battling someone that you run the risk of losing time. But back up in front, and watching Regan Mitchell, he's actually closed that gap down to Andrew Richardson ever so slightly, starting to close it down slowly lap by lap. So I wonder if Richardson's maybe just started to, I don't know, maybe struggling with tyres, or maybe just taking it easy and looking after the tyres, or maybe struggling with something like maybe the tyre pressures being too low, or maybe overinflated.
Yeah, I was keeping an eye on the lap times between Andrew Richardson and Regan Mitchell, and I think a lap before this lap, so would have been lap 23. I think I saw Richardson's time just flag up as being temporarily red, so I think he might have made a little bit of a mistake letting Regan, and that's allowed Regan Mitchell to close that gap ever so slightly. Gap currently sitting at sort of 2.3, 2.4 seconds, so and I think it is going to require a bit of a mistake from Andrew Richardson for Regan to be able to pull back up enough. Outside of that odd lap time, they are lapping at about 1/10 of each other. Last lap, Richardson was 1/10 quicker. This lap, Regan Mitchell was a couple of tenths faster, so I think at the minute then they're trading lap times back and forth, but I think it's definitely worth us keeping an eye on that gap and how it develops over the next sort of last 19 minutes of the race. As we head on board with Arun Nam, who is now on the back of Nick Vargas for that P8 position. And Nick's been under quite a bit of pressure from AM drivers throughout this race, first from the likes of Chris Hill and now by Arwen Nam. So it just goes to show that just because you've got an AM designation next to your name doesn't necessarily mean that you still can't fight it out within the pro drivers, as both Arwen and Chris Hill have been aptly showing throughout this race.
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. It's a good point you bring up. But even though some of these drivers might be in the AM class, it's not like other multi-class series where you'd maybe have prototypes and GT cars, maybe, or basically faster class cars and slower class cars. It's similar to real life GT racing. You might be in maybe a pro AM class or AM class, or you're in a different class, but you're still. You don't really have to move over for anyone. You're allowed to race them, even if they're in the pro class.
And it's really good experience, and as well, so it's something that I benefit from quite a lot. I love being in servers with quick drivers, drivers that are considerably faster than me, because it gives you the opportunity to be able to learn, what makes them actually quicker. One of the really, really great benefits of Assetto Corsa Competizione is that you can see all of the onboard footage from any car that's in a server with you, so you can ride on board with these faster drivers and just see what is it that they're doing that's different from you, that makes them quicker. What are the lines they're taking? What gears they're using in corners? Braking point's a little bit harder to gauge, simply because there is a little bit of a lag when you're on board with another driver in terms of the timing between brake and throttle. But it's still a really, really great learning experience, and even just following behind pro drivers like and Arwen Nam is following closely with Nick, and he's able to see where Nick's positioning his car to be able to defend. Really great example of that, as we've just seen coming down into turn one. Nick positioned his car beautifully on the inside of that corner to force Arwen to go round to the outside, taking the long way around the corner. Is the perfect way to defend. And all of this stuff, you can learn the theory by watching motorsport and things like that, but being in a server with quick drivers like this, and actually seeing it done firsthand, for me certainly is one of the best ways to learn.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. That's it's something I do when I'm doing practice for races. If someone's on the server at the same time as me, I'll probably watch what they're doing, watch what basically what lines you're taking into corners, what steering inputs they're using, what gears they're using, just basically kind of just simple stuff. Watch what they're doing and see if I can learn anything from that. But as this battle heads into the hairpin, then it's still going on. It looks like Arwen Nam is still, he's pretty much doing everything to hold on to his position. As I say that, I take it back. He's got a bit of a slide on it. There's a bit of contact, and that was a bit unedible there. Yeah.
So I think we would need to go a couple of corners back to see how that all started. But I think Nick Vargas might have just gotten a line into that initial sector wrong, which allowed Arwen Nam to come up the inside. Arwen then missed a braking point, or potentially went into a corner a little bit too hot, went a bit wide for Nick Vargas to then come and try and take the position back, causing a little bit of rubbing and side-by-side contact. Then Arwen Nam and Nicholas Malott taking advantage of the situation, they're now up P8, P9 respectively, and Nick Vargas has found himself losing 2 positions. So
Indeed.
as if by magic, we have the replay come up. Arwen Nam really, really great switchback, manages to take the position, but then just goes into turn 12 just a little bit too hot. Nick Vargas tries to take the position back, and they end up making contact, and unfortunately Nick Vargas being then the loser out of that scenario, and Armanam up into P8, and Nicholas Malott following them through into P9.
Yeah, I'm surprised that that incident with all three cars never ended up being a bigger incident than it was, because yeah, they were all pretty much bouncing off each other, and I think just watching, I think it all started with Nam having that bit of a slide and just trying to hold it, and then unfortunately all three cars all just got together, and there was a bit of door rubbing going on there, but nothing too major, and all three of them are still going, and Nam's got that position, and it looks like he's pulled away from Millet.
Yeah, and we've seen this a couple of times throughout this race this evening. It's been close and aggressive battling. There's been a bit of trading paint, but then the class of these drivers just been able to keep everything pointed in the right direction. Haven't been any too many severe incidents, but just good aggressive racing. Unfortunately, as I say that, typical commentators curse become on board with Evan Yepvis and Frank Hopp having a little bit of a collision with the wall there. We might see if we can get a replay as to exactly what happened there, as we kind of came in the last few seconds of that. So it'd be interesting to see what transpired there. But currently we have Frank Hopp ahead of Wild Things racer and Evan Yeplis.
Yep, just watching the replay now heading into turn 1, and it looks like he got the move done, and it looks like just so unfortunate. Evan just had nowhere to go.
Yeah, so Frank Hopp looks like the back end just went a little bit light. Car tried to oversteer on him, but unfortunately, Evan Yepvis, because he was on the inside, kind of got pinned between Frank Hopp and the wall. As you said, nowhere really for him to go. But it looked like the contact with the wall wasn't quite as hard as it initially looked when we very, very first came on board. So hopefully damage to that car is not too bad, and he's going to be able to quite easily manage the remaining 10.5 minutes that we've got left in this race. My God, where did this race go?
Yeah, it's good to see. It's just absolutely flew by. Let's say it was only probably about an hour ago we got this race started, and it's just absolutely flew by. 10 minutes, pretty much 10 minutes left in this race, and still plenty of. I thought they died down a little bit, but it was like plenty of battles going on, and it was like Nam's starting to feel the pressure from the light again, and not too far behind you've got Vargas and Chris Hill started to close this battle down as well. So you never know; it could be a battle for the R1 starting to take place very soon.
Yeah, I don't know if we've got quite enough time in the race for Chris to be able to catch up to Arwen, especially now that he's got two cars in between him. But they're definitely going to have a potential for a battle for Chris to be able to take that P10 position. But as we're just on board with Nicholas Malott and Arwen Nam, and it looks like Malott has managed to get that position done, and Arwen Nam down into P9, I believe.
Yep, there's a head on to the exit of the chicane, and further up the road you've got this battle for 6 and 7 going on between Tim Nybauer and Sander Vale going on, and It looks like Nibauer's holding on to that position for the moment, and Sandoval looks like he's feeling a bit racy. As I say that, it looks like Tim Nibauer's went wide there and he's compromised his exit, and it looks like Sandoval might try and do a bit of a. I thought he was going to try and do a bit of an undercut there, but yeah, it looks like he tried to do a bit of a switchback, but compromised his own exit as well.
Yeah, but if he keeps keeps positioning his car well, it's quite possible that he may be able to just can keep putting Tim Nibauer off a little bit as it just puts a nose up then the inside just to remind him that he's still there, and keeps doing that, he could very well end up getting Tim to miss a braking point to allow him to get the move done. Just they come round the back corner onto the back straight. I don't think Sander is going to be quite close enough. Does have a little bit of a look, but thinks better of attempting a dive up the inside as just cuts that corner just a little bit early there.
Indeed, and as you see there, but yeah, you've got Vargas and Chris Hill right behind now. So yeah, it could be. Looks like we've got pretty much got a 4-car battle going on at the moment. But it looks like Chris Hill. I think he'll probably start pushing more to try and get by the Vargas in front of him. But I think he'll be kicking himself for not being closer to the front in that AM class. But as he runs a little bit wide and clips the gravel, that'll compromise his exit there. But I think he'll be feeling slightly frustrated in a way, just not being closer to Nam there, challenging for the win.
No, but P2 is still going to give him some really, really great points in the AM class. It's currently sitting in P4 coming into this race, and being about 8 points back of Patrick Tractor, and Tractor not having a very good race at all. So Chris is definitely going to gain some points in the overall championship. We're still fairly early on in the championship, but all points count. So any points that Chris can gain over his rivals and ahead of him of Patrick Tractor and Evan Yepis is all going to help towards the end of the championship when we come to Indianapolis.
Yeah, absolutely. The Indianapolis with these GT4 cars, I've never really done any racing with GT4 cars around the place, but I've done some GT3 stuff around the Indianapolis, and some people don't seem to like seem to like the layout, but I absolutely love it. It's such a fun track.
I think it's definitely going to make for a very, very interesting season finale, but that's still several weeks out. We've still got 5 minutes left in this race tonight, then this four-way battle between Nicholas Millot, Arwen Nam, Nick Vargas and Chris Hill for P8 through to P11. Definitely one of our closest battles on track at the minute. We've also got a battle continuing between Sandoval and Tim Nibauer for P6. Just looking up then up the grid towards the front, Regan Mitchell has managed to get gain a little bit of time on Andrew Richardson, but it's not going to be enough. Just coming down into the 4.5 minute mark, and Regan Mitchell is still 1.8 behind. So I think Andrew Richardson has been able to just manage the gap consistently throughout the race from the pit stop onwards, it's a well-earned win for this race. Has Mark Sanyol come back into the pits?
I was just about to say, Sanyol just came back into the pits, or is that a glitch? I wonder
no,
if
he is in the pits.
what? Please don't say
He's run out of
I
fuel.
was going to say it's a splash and dash.
Oh, and it's painful. I've done it. I actually did it 2 races ago in GT3, and you just feel so ridiculous. It's like, oh, a simple fuel calculation, and yeah, you end up feeling a little bit of a donkey, having to go in and do a last minute splash and dash. I feel your pain, Mark. I really do. It's not fun.
Yeah, for some reason when you said the donkey, I just had an image of Gordon Ramsay in my head. If you've heard of Gordon Ramsay and you've watched Hell's Kitchen or Kitchen Nightmares, then yeah, you'll probably know who I'm talking about.
I don't. Unfortunately, when I hear their term donkey, I can't help but think of Shrek. But yeah. So.
Oh dear.
But just looking back down to the lower ladders of the grid, Dan Lenson, obviously having that disastrous first lap, is not going to be finishing last. So, as I said at the time, it's worth staying out. You never know what's going to happen. He's managed to get himself two positions, which is going to earn him points. So it's it's painful when you have such a disastrous first lap, but just goes to show it is well worth having sticking with it. Staying out there, and some well-earned points for Dan Lenson there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's he's still going. He'll get points as well. Someone runs wide onto the grass there, but still, yeah, got about coming up for 1 minute 30 left in the race. So we should have this lap and one more, I believe.
Yep, and I think so, and I think that car that we saw going wide, I think might have been Router Vince. But as we're just on board with Chris Hill, currently sitting in P11, just trying to narrow down that gap to Nick Vargas up in front. That gap currently putting 0.7. But we are going to have just this last lap. We might have one more. I'm just seeing on the track map where Andrew Richardson is, and he's just coming out of just going through the complex at the minute, coming onto the back straight. So we are going to get one more lap of racing before then this evening is done.
Yeah, and Andy Richardson there just clipped the gravel, on the exit of the final corner. So yeah, definitely pushing. And as you can see there, Regan Mitchell is absolutely closing him down like crazy. So I wonder if Andy Richardson's maybe on. Probably not, but I wonder if he's struggling with tyres or maybe having to conserve fuel.
Possibly, or he could have just come across a back marker at a slightly awkward moment. I think just as we came on board with Andrew Richardson, I think that little wander off into the gravel was as a result of trying to get around a back marker coming into that final corner. So might have given Regan the opportunity to gain a couple of tenths. On Andrew Richardson, just looking at their last lap times, Regan Mitchell was 5 tenths quicker that last lap. I don't think it's going to be enough. When timer has now run out, this is definitely going to be then the last lap. I don't think 0.8 is going to be enough for Regan to be able to get back within the span of one sector. They're just coming into the final sector now. So yeah, Regan, and I think that this is, potentially could have been the race that could have been for Regan, but definitely some really, really great points for Regan there, and especially with our other front runners in the championship, Aaron Walker and Leon Hop, not managing to make the race tonight. Those points are going to be very, very well needed for Regan. He was P3 in the championship prior to this race. I think that could bring him potentially up into P2 with the other drivers not finishing. As we come on board with Richard Pixley, taking the P3 in the race for Wild Things Racing. Bit of a difficult race there for Pixley, but hopefully we can get some more details from him in the interviews. We see Nicholas Schroeder and Bas van Millis come across the line for P4 and P5. And we come back to Sander Vale and Tim Nyborg just ahead as they just come out of the complex onto the final corner. And Tim Nyborg coming across the line into P6 with Sander Vale close behind, finishing in P7. Nicholas Ballot manages to keep the gap to Armin Nam, Nick Vargas and Chris Hill taking that P2 in class. You can see how much that meant to him with a bit of a flash of the lights crossing the line. So we're really great to see Chris coming home in P2, and Frank Hopp coming across the line for P12. And Eben Yetvis taking the P3 in the AM class, P13 overall, with Jan-Paul Eichenboom just coming behind in P14 in the Mercedes. And Dan Lenson, the last to cross the line, doing very, very well to come back up into P15. So a really, really great recovery drive for Dan Lenson there. So there we have it. A really fantastic Barcelona race. Time just flew by.
Yeah, it did, and yeah, it was a great race, and there was plenty of battles going on throughout the field, and especially that battle up at the front in the early stages of the race where Pixley and Richardson and Regan Mitchell as well were involved in that battle, and Andrew Richardson kept his composure, kept his cool, and managed to hold on for a win. And even though he was under a bit of pressure in the final couple of minutes from Regan Mitchell, he kept his cool and held on, and again taking another win. And I don't know what it is. It must be that zebra livery giving him good luck.
Yeah, so as we're just watching the highlights from that turn one, I've got to say that the three of them going into turn one 3 abreast, I was sat here holding my breath, thinking, what is going to transpire with this? But these drivers showing their class, keeping it all together, clean, tight, and just an absolutely fantastic first lap. Right, so just waiting for Richard Pixley to join us in the commentary box. But while we're waiting, let's bring in Andrew Richardson and Regan Mitchell, so we can have a chat with them. Good evening, Andrew Richardson. Congratulations on another race win. How was the race from your point of view?
Oh, that was hard work. That was a tough race. Yeah, managed to qualify on pole. Happy with that. And yeah, the McLaren is so fast in a straight line. He had about 7 or 8 kilometers an hour on me, so with such a long run down to the first corner, I knew I was going to be struggling to keep hold of the lead, and sure enough, I ended up in P2, but with a lot more pace. Problem was, you could literally take any line through the chicane and last corner he wanted and still pull a gap on me, even if I perfected it. So it was tough, but we got the move eventually. Had a little bonk afterwards, and then got to look at the back of Regan instead. So, you know, we were sort of, myself and Regan, very similar pace. And then I got him in the pit stop. I decided I was either going to pit a lap before or a lap after. I wasn't going to pit the same lap. So as soon as he pitted, I decided next lap, and luckily I managed to come out a couple of seconds ahead.
Yeah, when we were watching the gap before the pit stop and then again afterwards, I mean, you must have had an amazing in-lap. We think the gap coming out of the pits was nearly 4 seconds. So, yeah, fantastic pit stop from you there. Do you do a lot of pit stop practice, between races, or is it just something that you just do on the fly?
I do a little bit of practice, but not too much. Obviously, you need to make sure you get your braking point into the pits. But I find if I practice it too much, I try and get greedy, and then you risk a drive-through. So I always try and just find a safe marker and go from there. And same with stopping in the pit box itself. Making sure you don't get moved. That's 3 seconds. So if you use like half a second or a second to stop on your marks, you're still 2 seconds up. So, it's just about. There's not much to gain in a pit stop. There's a lot to lose. I made sure I didn't lose anything, and as I say, came out to lead. The in lap was pretty good. It wasn't amazing. I think the difference might be here that the cold tyres really cost you on the out lap. I have a feeling that might be the reason why it was 4 seconds when I came out the pits, because the gap shrunk down very quickly. Afterwards, in the first sort of lap or two, I lost quite a lot of time while I was still getting my tyres in the right window.
Yeah. I mean, when we saw then the gap kind of equalised towards the latter half of the race at about 2 seconds. When were you conscious of the gap behind to Regan, or were you more concentrating on your own race?
Oh, I was definitely conscious of Regan behind. I had quite a lot of damage. I had about 5 or 6 seconds rear damage, so the car wasn't particularly nice to drive. So I knew I didn't have the pace that I had in practice. In practice, I was probably 3-4 tenths quicker. So I knew Regan was going to be catching, and it was a couple of tenths each lap, which, as long as it stayed at that, it was manageable. And then once I sort of stopped the rot and had a lap where I was, slightly quicker than Regan, I thought, this is a bit safer now. But I had a scare on the last corner coming onto the last lap with a back marker. Almost hit him, and went from a nice 1.5 seconds and just bring it home to just over half a second and a bit squeaky bum time. Yeah,
when we did see that, we definitely came on board, I think, just as that happened. So yeah, when we definitely did see that up here in the commentary box. So looking ahead to Snetterton then, I know Snetterton is a track that you either love or hate. Which camp are you? Do you like Snetterton, or are you dreading next race?
Not really dreading it, but I'm not particularly a fan of Snetterton. It's a track I'm not particularly good at, I don't think, compared to some of the other tracks. It's certainly not one of my better tracks. But yeah, I mean, the Porsche is quick everywhere, so fingers crossed I'll still be around the front. I think today was made a bit easier with both Aaron and Leon not being here. I'm sure if they're back for Snetterton, they'll both be flying, so yeah, undoubtedly I'll have my work cut out again.
Yep, and we definitely look forward to seeing it. I think it's going to be a great race 8. So thank you very much for all the excitement this evening, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time at Snetterton.
Thank you. See you in a couple of weeks, and well done to Regan. That was a great race by him. Great race.
So then, Regan, we've heard Andrew's side. How was it from your point of view?
Hello. It was From my point of view, it was kind of two halves. I was really happy for the most part with my actual driving, but it was sort of a strategic and planning nightmare. So at the start, I got a really good start. I could have been in the lead if I moved to the inside, but I completely underestimated the speed of the McLaren and ended up just letting them through. So that made it harder. But I was able to stick to the back of them, and once Andrew got past, I knew I had to also get past, and just luckily managed to sort of pressure him into a mistake that got me the lead for a bit. Yeah, but sadly, I don't know why, I thought the race was 10 minutes longer than it was the entire time, so I'd overfueled by 10 minutes worth at least, and I pitted what I thought was just after the halfway mark, and then I was on my outlap, and the spotter guy said, "Okay, you're halfway through," and I realised I'd done something wrong.
Right, okay.
Yeah, a 6-second loss overall, I think, in the pits. I'm not quite sure how. It wasn't like a bad pit stop or anything. It was just, yeah. So I had a bit of red mist and drove the wheels off it for the rest of that stint, and went like, what was it, 1/10 off my quali lap.
Oh, fantastic.
Just out of anger. But yeah, no regard for tyres or anything, and yeah, by the end they couldn't do any more.
Well, they definitely gave us plenty to watch from that side of it. So with Snetterton coming up in for round 4, and how do you like Snetterton as a track?
Normally I'd say I'd like it in GT4s, but that's only like sort of with ABS. I like it in the Porsche and things like that, but I don't know how it's going to be in this. Bit of compromise might be needed on the brakes, but yeah, should be okay.
Well, it definitely is going to be fun for us to watch. So, thank you very much for giving us a great, exciting race then this evening, and we look forward to seeing you out in a couple of weeks' time at Snetterton.
Thank you. See ya.
Excellent. And we've just been joined by Richard Pixley. Richard, how was the race from your point of view?
Hello, guys. It was pretty good for the start, but after that, a couple of laps, the tyres just disappeared for me.
Did they?
Probably set up, probably a bit of too heavy right foot, not enough left foot.
So easily done. With the pit stops, did you find the car was a little bit easier to handle afterwards? I mean, then if you ate your tires quite quickly early on, we noticed you get a bit more pace after the pit stop.
Yeah, I felt a little bit easier after the pits. It was more to do with just no traffic, if anything, not being harassed. I should put it that way by two very quick drivers. So I just went around at my own pace, and I had no chance of keeping up with Andrew and Regan. So just thought I'll try and stick out P3, get some points.
Yeah, very, very, very well earned points then this race out. I've got to ask it about the about turn 1. I had my heart in my mouth as the three of you decided to go 3 wide into turn 1. Was it a bit of a squeaky bum moment for you as well, or?
To be honest, no. I trusted the other two guys. I felt I was just enough in front to sort of claim it mine, but under the braking, Andrew just gained that little bit on my right hand side. So it was more hopefully keep enough room between all three of us and just keep your foot on it, really. Otherwise, you'll always be at the back if you don't try and keep your nose in front. So.
Yeah. And with Snetterton coming up as our next race, is Snetterton a track that you enjoy driving?
Yes and no, really. It honestly depends. I don't think I've drove the Snetterton GT4 for quite some time, so, and I've definitely never driven it in the McLaren, so we shall see.
So it'll be a bit of an experiment out for you then.
Yeah.
Well, when we look forward to seeing how you get on. Best of luck with your practice midweek, and and hope for the best for Snetterton out for round 4. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys, and also congrats to Andrew and Regan.
And we've got time for a quick chat with our very own Chris Hill. Hello, Chris. When we absolutely enjoyed watching that race, how was it for you?
I loved it, and good evening. Barcelona is one of my favourite tracks, and I do reasonably well here. Made a few mistakes, but all in all, I know I only finished second in AM class, but I wanted to come and chat to you guys from the other side for a change.
It's always great to have the perspective of our AM drivers coming in and letting us know how things went for them. I mean, I've got to say throughout practice and qualifying, seeing how well you were doing, I was looking forward to seeing what you did with the race. Have you been doing a lot of practice leading up to this race, or is it just you naturally enjoy the circuit?
Obviously, you want me to say, I've done loads and loads of practice. but
well, I know that you have done some laps in the practice server.
I have done some laps, but I haven't done a great deal. I've probably spent three hours on practice on this. And as I say, it's one of my favourite circuits anyway, so it's not one that I had to learn. But Andrew will tell you, I was in one night, I was doing 158s, and they're coming down to 157s, 156s, and then I think I peaked in practice just before the qualifying tonight. So I'm very pleased with with my result. Had some good battles. Like to thank Nick for a nice clean battle and really well done on defending. There's no way around him. Arwin capitalised on that. I'm gonna have to learn to stop letting people pass when I'm trying to battle. But I would like to. It may sound strange, but I do want to dedicate this second place because it's probably the highest I've finished in a race in a class. I want to dedicate it to both my parents, my father that passed away just before Christmas, as you know, because I carry his name on my car now, and my mum, who's currently not well. So hopefully
that is absolutely fantastic, Chris, and I think an honourable dedication to them. You drove amazingly well. We really enjoyed watching your battles on track, and you say that you didn't really put too much practice in. Would it surprise you to learn that you actually put the most number of laps in on the practice server?
Yes, it would. Yes, it would. Heck, how's that happened? Yeah. I reckon everybody else was practicing offline. That's what it is.
I think so as well. But from the data that I have access to, the official practice server, you put in the most number of laps.
How many clean laps?
You know what? Still the highest as well.
Blooming heck.
Yeah.
I only got one track cut as well tonight, so I was pleased with that.
Fantastic. So, predictions for Snetterton. Do you think you're going to do well at Snetterton, or is it one that you're not really looking forward to?
So this is where I psychologically tell all the other drivers that I'm absolutely fantastic at Snetterton as well, isn't it? and they start feeling a bit anxious that he's going to be on it again. I've never driven it. So that is going to be a big learning curve, and I dare say there will be a fair number of laps up on that one whilst I learn it. Oulton Park was the same as well. I've never driven Oulton Park until just before the race.
Well, seeing that you had never driven an Oulton Park, you did quite well in that race as well. So, Yeah, maybe your trick is to drive tracks that you don't know. Maybe.
That's it.
Anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Chris. Lovely to hear from you. Fantastic to see you back out on track. And
thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you next race.
Thank you, and well done for the comms and the broadcast. I know how difficult a job it is, and I look forward to hopefully watching this back, but more likely listening to it back tomorrow.
Great. Well, thanks very much, Chris, and look forward to seeing you next race.
Thank you.
So then, Ryan, that definitely gave a bit more interest to the race, knowing that there was damage going on and carrying the wrong amount of fuel and all kinds of stuff going on in the background. So yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah, made for quite an eventful race, and but also an exciting race as well. Great battling up at the front and in the midfield, and also just everywhere you looked, there was always something happening, and some good battles for the lead in the early stages of the race as well, with Pixley, Richardson, and Mitchell as well, and I think Snetterton as well, with the tight nature and the tight confines of the track. I think it's going to be a great race, and if tonight's anything to go by, I think it should be a good one.
Yeah, I mean the field that we've got for this season in the GT4s, and anything can happen. The fact that we've got three really, really good, close, tight battling and up at the front. But even and outside of that three-way tie that we've got for the championship, the likes of Sandervale, Regan Mitchell, Richard Pixley, all being in the running, just waiting to capitalize on any situation like they did tonight. It's still anyone's guess as to what's going to come about at the end of this championship. And I don't know about you, but I am looking forward to every single race that we've got. And speaking of the races coming up, as we've been saying, Snetterton is our next round out on March 21st. And then we head over to the iconic track of Imola, and then finish off the championship with two of our US rounds, Laguna Seca, and followed by what is no doubt going to be a fascinating championship finale out at Indianapolis on the 2nd of May. So make sure that you have subscribed to Simsport Racing International's YouTube channel. Hit that bell icon to make sure that you get notifications of all of our live on-track action. And I believe our next race out is this Thursday for Porsche Cup. And then we have GT3s next Tuesday, where we are at Laguna Seca. And I will be wrestling a very unruly M4 around a track that I also have never driven in my life, so it'll all be fun. And I've just been reminded that we also have World Touring Car Championship on Thursday, not Porsche Cup, so my apologies for that. World Touring Car Championship coming from, where are we coming from? Ningbo. Is that right? I don't even know what date it is today. Yes, Ningbo on March 9th. So that will be streaming live. And yeah, followed by GT3s next Tuesday from Laguna Seca. So from Ryan, Tom Vandermeer, and myself, and everyone at Simsport Racing, thank you very much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the racing, and we will see you next time out. Have a good evening.